Welcome to the Gorka Reality Check. I'm your host, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. For those who haven't heard me or seen me before, I'm a legal immigrant to the United States whose life changed inexorably when a very, very successful businessman who wasn't a politician decided to run for the highest office in the land. It is now history when Donald John Trump and his beautiful wife, Melania Trump, came down a certain escalator in Manhattan. That man was laughed at. He was ridiculed by the establishment on both sides of the political aisle. He faced down his own Republican challengers and defeated them. And then he defeated a woman who thought her position as president was owed to her because of her gender and her last name. But he defeated Hillary Clinton as well. Why? Because he wasn't a politician and because of a message he shared with the American people at the Republican National Convention.
My opponent asks her supporters to recite a three-word loyalty pledge. It reads, "I'm with her." I choose to recite a different pledge. My pledge reads, "I'm with you, the American people."
He didn't demand loyalty from voters to himself. It wasn't a personality cult based on some kind of family dynasty of politicians. He said, "I'm with you, the forgotten men and women of America." Americans who really had been betrayed by both parties for far too long. I was blessed, truly blessed, to become a part of the ensuing administration. I ended up in the White House. After years of serving, working with our military, with the Red Berets, the 82nd Airborne, the Green Berets, I ended up with the position of strategist to the President of the United States. And the remarkable thing is, it's such an American story. Here I am taking the oath of allegiance to the greatest nation on God's green earth. To be an immigrant, a person who chose this country and who just a few years earlier had become its citizen, to rise to serve the president only here, only in the United States of America. However, what happened in 2016 is poorly understood. Even those on the conservative side of the political divide, especially in the establishment Republican Party, don't appreciate what happened 4 years ago and what it means for the future. So in this, our first episode of the Gorka Reality Check, we will ask and answer the key questions that you need to be apprised of. Number one, what really happened in the United States? How is it that for the first time ever in our history, the American people chose a non-politician? We forget this far too easily. We forget the fact that this individual broke the mold. For every president since our revolution, from George Washington, right up through the 44th president, Barack Hussein Obama, every single chief executive was either a former general, like Washington and Eisenhower, or a former senator, a former governor, a former representative. In 2016, more than 60 million Americans said, no, that ends. The age of professional politicians ends, and we're going to bring in somebody who's proven themselves outside of the swamp. An individual who really was chosen for one specific reason. Whatever you think of Donald Trump, whether you like his tweets or his style, his kid from Queens attitude, is irrelevant. The most important thing about Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, which is the topic for today's initial episode of the Gorka Reality Check is the fact that nobody owns Donald Trump. Nobody owned him in 2016. None of the lobbies, not the unions, not Big Pharma, none of them, not the oil industry, not the defense industry. He was independent of them all. And that is why he remains a threat to the swamp and the vested interests that have seen in this city where I live, individuals become politicians and stay politicians for decades, a phenomena that truly would have horrified our founding fathers. Our nation was born out of the concept of the citizen politician, an individual who serves his nation, represents his fellow man, and then after a brief time in office, returns to civilian life. When George Washington was invited to stay, to become really a king in all but title, he said, no, I'm going back to life as normal. That is the citizen politician. And excitingly, that is part of the MAGA movement. Seeing individuals who said enough is enough. The forgotten men and women have been betrayed for far too long, and I'm going to fight the vested interests. That is part of America First. But we also have to ask the tough questions. We celebrate this reinvigoration, this revivification of what it means to be the greatest republic on the planet. But we have to ask the question, did the swamp win? Did the deep state defeat this iconoclastic president with the victory of the Democrats last year? If that is the case, why? And should he run again, will he be able to defeat the swamp this time? I was there. I was in the arena. I was there inside the White House. I was there inside the presidential transition team. And we're going to talk to some individuals who know the truth about just how dire the challenge is, just how significant the vested interests inside this city are, and how they really don't care about you, the American people. We're going to talk to somebody who was there even before MAGA began, an individual who founded something called the Brexit movement, and an individual who's close to Donald Trump. We're going to talk to one of the greatest strategic minds in America today, Professor Victor Davis Hanson, a man who wrote the book, The Case for Donald Trump, a man who understands the strategic import of having a non-politician in the White House, and truly how deep and broad the threat to representative government is in America. No, we're not a democracy. We are a representative government. And that's why things such as the Electoral College are so very, very important. That's why, as we saw in the elections of last year, the fact that it is the states that should run our elections is something the Founding Fathers knew. And that's something that is in dire, dire need of protection today. We're going to talk to somebody who has dealt with Donald Trump, the man, the businessman, who has sat across from him, done business dealings with him, and who is a presidential historian. We're going to talk to Lord Conrad Black. We're also going to have a discussion of why what Ronald Reagan taught us about being a happy warrior is more important than ever. Why it is that every single day we have to have in front of us a reminder of what Rush Limbaugh taught us, that despair is un-American. If you've given up on the conservative movement, if you think MAGA, Make America Great Again, is dead and America First has lost, well, I've got harsh words for you. That is an un-American attitude. But I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to show you why we must always be happy warriors, and why at the end of the day, they always, always lose. And then lastly, and we're going to do this for every episode of the Gorka Reality Check, I'm going to give you a prescription, Dr. G's prescription, for what you can do to help save our republic. Every single one of you matters. Doesn't matter where you live. You can be in a Democrat state. Doesn't matter what your background is. You have a role to play in making America great again. It's not just about complaining and pointing out the hypocrisy of the left. It's about giving you the concrete marching orders of how you can make a difference and help the next Republican president, whoever that may be, to bring back the principles of our founding.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.